All right. So I'm really super excited today. I am here with Mark Sephton right now. And Mark Sephton is an entrepreneur. He's a self-leadership teacher and media content creator. I know Mark through Brainz Magazine, where he hosts the podcast as well, and has interviewed over 4,000 individuals, entrepreneurs of all kinds, which is really amazing. And is also a regular contributor to the Entrepreneur Magazine. And well, there's so much more. Like he's written, he's the author of 3 or 4 books. Mark of a Man is one of them. Inside Job, Plot Twist, and yes, and so much more. So before I share everything about what Mark is, and absolutely wonderful person to spend time with, having been interviewed by Mark myself, and getting to know you just a little bit these past weeks. Just such a pleasure and to speak with you, and I'm so excited for you to be here. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, absolutely. I'm delighted. For me, everything's about energy. One of my mantras has always been go where the love is. Sometimes I find that we're all trying to kind of find out where we belong. And I think when you come across people with similar energy, it just makes life and business and everything in between that much more like enjoyable. So yeah, when I had the opportunity to interview you, Maria, it was very apparent, like just the heart and the genuineness and the authenticity and just the warmth from you makes it very easy for somebody like me to be like, yeah, would love to do other projects, with you. And so I'm excited to be in your hands this time. And I'm sure that you can get some revenge by asking me some hard hitting questions should you wish. But I appreciate the warm invite and the beautiful intro. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, first of all, but just it's reciprocated, as you mentioned, the energy I felt from you. So I was really excited to have you here and for you to be up for that. Of course, my questions won't be not usually are not hard hitting anyway, so but I love to dive deeper into who's Mark, and like what's your relationship to creativity as well, and anything you would like to share with us. And there's so much here that I've already shared with you that I would love to touch on, so I'm excited to see where that goes. And
Sounds good.
sounds good. In that case, actually my first question you are highly creative. I can see from, you mentioned you're a writer, and obviously you have written your books, and you're doing being an entrepreneur itself is creative. And so I'm curious, what's your relationship to creativity been like, and what does it mean for you?
Well, I always think that the definition of words is really fascinating at the moment, because there's certain words we hear all the time. And yet, through discussions with other people, I find that sometimes our definition of a word, like creativity, can kind of evolve and change and mean 1,000 things to 1,000 different people. And whenever I used to think of like artistry or creativity, especially when I was younger, it would often be focused on my ability to draw or paint, which, to be honest, I always crack up because I am an absolutely awful drawer. My children laugh when we have drawing competitions where one of us will be a judge, and it's quite humorous to me how bad I am. But I kind of enjoy that because sometimes I think, for the last, number of years, I've always stayed in my lane, and I tend to do what I'm good at. And the things that I'm not, I tend to leave them alone. But with drawing, it's kind of, it makes other people laugh. And actually, sometimes I actually laugh at the awfulness of my ability to draw. But then, when you start to evolve and you realize that creativity isn't just about drawing or painting, it's about You know, as you said, writing, it can be a musical. It can be your ability to keep someone's attention on stage. It can be entertainment. Like there's so much expression of creativity, you know, and you know, for me, I think that once you know, once you know what you're good at, and once you know kind of what people appreciate in you, it's very telling. I encourage people to dissect their past success, because I think we're very good, Maria, at kind of dissecting our failings and when things go wrong. But do we really dissect, you know, when things go well? Because I think if we can all be mindful of the successes we've had and we look over why we were successful in those, a lot of it is about being one with creativity. Creativity isn't just something you do, it's an expression of who you are, you know. And if you believe in like a creator god, then I believe that we're often an expression of that which we create. So for me, being creative, even in our biology, you know, we're created to create human life. I think that in itself is kind of exciting. We need to embrace that. And then I think life is a matter of journeying through the different experiences that we have to really pinpoint, you know, what we're here to do and who we're here to serve, and how do we express that which is within us that gives us fulfillment, but also brings enlightenment to others, you know. And so for me, that's something that's really relatable when it comes to creativity and my ability to experiment and try my hand and dissect and look at why people and what people come to me for. I always think it's very telling, you know. We don't need to have a title to lead. If you're a leader, people will follow you. You know, if you're creative, people will buy your work, they'll buy your paintings, they'll watch your shows, they'll listen to your music. You just got to be brave enough to just express and know that not everybody's your audience, and that is absolutely okay.
Yes, yes, beautiful. um couldn't agree more with you there, with the expression, with almost like the energy following you just when you are being creative and you are being it instead of you're trying to do it or doing it. I know you didn't say it this way, but that's kind of like me paraphrasing some of that, what you mentioned. People are
But
creative.
that's art, isn't it?
Yeah.
You hearing what I say, you digest it, and then you express it in terms of what I've imparted to you. And obviously art is a great thing where you can absorb a painting or a drawing, and it can maybe uh express what you feel, but you've not been able to put it into words. So for me, creativity is not just about your own expression, but also the expression it gives to other people that may not have that particular skill, but do have that resonance of what they get from that which you created.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, love that. No, absolutely. um you mentioned earlier about how you are focusing on the things, or how you always have been focusing on the things that you do well, or that you feel like your strengths are in. And so I'm curious about like also the other part of where you mentioned you um where you had this view on you not being able to paint or to draw. I wonder what how, if at all, that has impacted your way of how you saw yourself as creative, and what impact that has had on you, if any.
Yeah, I think I can draw. I just draw badly. You know, so it's not like I can't draw. It's just yeah, it's not one of my gifts. Like it's not, somebody's not going to spend $5,000 on a Mark Sephton drawing, I assure you. If anything, I'd have to pay them to take it from me. But I think that I think it's quite liberating, you know, Maria, when you know family in particular, they sometimes have like an ideal of what you'd like, you know, their children to be. Like I remember my grandmother; she was very She's a very entrepreneurial woman, very successful. Always kind of like joked with me that she wished I was born with like a hammer, you know, and you know, she appreciated DIY, and I've never, at least at that point, I was never that, you know, in tune with being like DIY savvy, you know. And it's interesting when people try and kind of like put you into something that just doesn't fit. I find it so liberating to actually just admit when you're not good at something. Like for me, it really doesn't matter. It's like, because there's so many things I am good at.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, I might not be good at drawing, but man, I'm good at interviewing people. I know what to do. I know what to say. It's like having that self-awareness and being liberated to know, yeah, okay, there is parts of me that are lacking and not as good, but there's parts of me that are excellent. And for me, I think that when you experiment and you try new things and you see what works and you see what doesn't, radically accept that. Radically accept the fact that, yeah, I'm not great at drawing, but I am great at, you know, keeping somebody's attention, or whatever it is for you, you know. And there's a difference for me between confidence and arrogance. I always find that confidence elevates self, and in doing so elevates others, a little bit like a rising tide lifts all boats. I find that arrogance elevates self, but in doing so belittles others, and I think there's a real difference. So for me, it's like me saying that I'm amazing, like, and good at interviewing people isn't something for me that's egotistical. It's something that I've dedicated my life to. It's something that I've really worked on. It's something that has kind of like formed with my natural like ability. And the reason I have that viewpoint is because people tell me,
Mm.
like, and for me that's much more telling. It's what are other people saying, you know. And so for me, it's really important, I think, that when we go through life and we realize that we're not good at everything, that is okay. And stop trying to be something you're not, and stop trying to be something that somebody else wants you to be, and start being who you are, what you were created to do. You know, it's the same person, but in the wrong environment. So sometimes I say to people, the problem isn't you. The problem is the environment you're in. The problem isn't you. The problem is the job that you're doing. You're trying to contort yourself into something that you weren't created to do.
Mm.
So go be the best expression of you and let the environment surround you. That's really
Yeah.
the key.
I love that, and I love where this is, what you have just shared. Like it's so important and so powerful, because people do compare themselves to usually the things that they feel they can't do, and then pull themselves down. But it's like, you've really nurtured the part of you that that who you are, who you are, and what you're interested in, and what you want to do. And I think that's a really powerful message, to just not focus on all the things that you feel you can't do. Not saying that perhaps you, like you mentioned, you can draw, and maybe your judgment on it being a bad drawing, might be maybe as well a judgment. Yeah, could also be. But at the same time, you have focused on what you feel your strengths are. And I think that confidence that you shared as well, the difference about arrogance and confidence, really interesting topic, because I had a conversation literally yesterday with an artist about this, and it was the question on not feeling a little bit awkward or funny when receiving compliments, and not wanting to be perceived as as arrogant, as an arrogant artist. And then we had this conversation about confidence, actually, about you can love your work, share your work, be proud of it, and not necessarily be arrogant, right? But almost having the aversion of wanting to show that they also like their work, not necessarily in exactly those terms or words, but we literally had that conversation. So I love that you just shared that. That's really powerful. Where did that confidence, I guess, did you always have that confidence?
No, I think, you know, I talk about like like we are who we are, and you can put me in a different environment, and I won't be as confident in one environment as I am to another. You know, for example, flying. I've flown a lot. Is it an environment where I fully relax? It isn't. And when I think about it, it's probably for a couple of reasons. One, because I'm in something that I don't know how to fly, which means fundamentally I'm putting my hands into the life of somebody else. For me, I'd much rather kind of be in control of myself than put my hands into somebody else, because you can't control what they do. It always makes me laugh. I always remind myself that the pilot doesn't want to die either. But I do find it quite funny why I seem to think every time I get on a plane, it feels like Russian roulette. And I'm like, why do I like why? Like it never stops me from flying. And
Mm,
actually, as soon as we're off, I'm absolutely fine. Um, so I find that in different environments really can affect your confidence. So for me, when people say, Matt, you're really confident, well, that's because I'm staying
mm,
in an environment where actually I am that pilot, where I know how to navigate, that you can throw something at me and I'll know how to pivot, I'll know how to deal with it, I'll know how to respond. So for me, self-awareness is key. I talk about self-awareness all the time. For me, it's where it's at,
mm,
because as soon as you have a healthy understanding of who you are, you know your limitations, you know where you succeed, you know where you thrive, you know where you excel, and you also know your kryptonite. I know where I'm susceptible, I know where I'm vulnerable, I know where it isn't comfortable,
mm,
and then I also know where I absolutely have a field day and thoroughly enjoy the playground that I'm in. So no, for me, I've not always been confident, but I think one of the keys to confidence is knowing self and knowing the environments in which you are. Put me in a canoe with my legs straight. I don't overly like that position. I'm not confident. Put me, on a football pitch, with a football, I'm confident because I know that, and I know I can hold my own.
mm.
That feels good.
So how much do you feel perhaps, like, let's say you have a curiosity of something that you may not feel very confident in yet, because it's just a curiosity of something. How much do you go after those curiosities and then find yourself in a place of unknown or not feeling so confident yet because it's new? Just from this conversation of where you find yourself a lot in the place of where you feel confident. So I'm just curious about the
Yeah, I think that when it comes to performance and me selling something and me contributing, I feel like those are the things that I stay in my lane and do the things that I'm good at. Because for me, that's smart. Like, if you want to have a business, then do something that you're really good at, because you're going to get paid well for it.
yeah.
You're going to enjoy it. You're going to get results, right? Now, there'll be certain things that aren't about performance or contribution or business.
Mm,
And there would be the areas in my life where I would be curious.
mm,
Like, for example, I did a ballroom dancing competition for Macmillan Cancer Research. And it was quite interesting for me, actually, because I wasn't the best dancer and I wasn't the worst. But everything I do it with hard or not at all. And the purpose was to raise money. But it was interesting because I knew I was going into an environment where I wasn't the best. And that was interesting because when the judges judged me, like, some of their comments were a little bit harsh, and I was like, man, I hate like being exposed where I'm in something that I'm not top of the pops with.
mm,
So it's really interesting for me. I thoroughly enjoyed the process, made some good friends, and I learned how to do the tango and the samba, even though some of my technique I think was really lacking, because I'm not a ballroom dancer. But I am a man who'll try anything. And I think that, for me, curiosity on those sort of things is healthy and good. I'll try anything once as long as it's ethically and morally, sound. I'm willing to give anything,
Mm.
a go, especially food. I always think that food is one of them. I'll try anything once.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there may be some foods that I really wouldn't want to try, but I haven't had that yet.
Okay. What's
So,
been your most yeah, exciting or exotic food, I guess, that you might have had that you yeah, tried because of curiosity?
that is difficult because I feel like if I say anything, people are going to be like, yeah, that's not like
Don't have to.
that exotic. I think, I think, I think the thing that came to me was like quail, and it's not
Oh,
even
yeah.
like for some people they probably have it every day or something funny.
Oh, well, there you go. It's like always different for everyone. What's exotic for one person is it's not exotic for another. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I love that. And so you talk about your unique GPS system as well that
Mm.
helps to identify blind spots, efficiencies, deficiencies, and you create personalized support with that GPS system. So I'm curious, what is that GPS system?
Yeah, so my GPS, sometimes I call it my internal MRI.
Mhm.
After working with like creatives, entrepreneurs for it was about 3.5 years at the time, I kind of looked over my notes. Seriously, like if we become masters of reflecting, we will grow so much. I reflect on everything. So I was looking over all the notes, 3.5 years of working with creatives, and there were some commonalities of pain points, frustrations, successes, things that people really cared about. And I kind of noticed there was kind of like 10 key fundamentals of what people really focused in on organically over these conversations and these mentoring and coaching sessions. So I decided to create something that would gauge the health of each of these fundamentals through an assessment, which would then give me a set of results and then enable me to really focus each mentoring session in relation to what was revealed based on each individual's assessment. So rather than me doing the same work with you as I do with somebody else, that's not going to serve you. I really want to serve people in really revealing who they are and why they've ended up where they are and why their attitude and their belief and their behavior is the way it is. And through my GPS, it gives me clues of where we then need to focus, retrain, develop, sharpen, heighten whatever it is within that. And then that's how I frame my sessions. And typically, I like to work with people for like 6 weeks.
Mm.
I don't like it to be like dragged out. I literally think that if you're working with a coach or mentor, you absolutely glean everything that you can from that person and then go find the next person who's demonstrating a behavioral skill that you would love to have in your life or you feel like you need to improve. Like if you're looking for a coach or mentor, go find somebody who's doing the very thing that you want to do, or somebody that's really shining in a way that you want to shine.
Mm.
Absolutely absorb everything from them, ask great questions, really take everything they have and apply it. Because for me, it's like we live in that knowledge overload. What we need is revelation. And the difference between knowledge and revelation is you take the knowing and you apply it and you manifest it and you see it. You give it a heartbeat, you give it legs, you breathe it, you drink it, it becomes a part of your everyday. It then goes from theory to practical. You have to take the knowledge and see it in order for it to make a change. So that's typically what my GPS is all about.
Mm.
I take every new client through that. We go at it tirelessly, like for 6 weeks, and then on to the next you go. Just take as much out from me as you can, and then go.
Love that.
Yeah.
What are some of the results your clients are getting from working with you? Like, what are some of those things?
Obviously, that does vary from client to client. Some people it's 1 or 2% moving the needle forward, and for others it's radical and it's unbelievable. And I remember one of my favorite testimonies, because this man I think he got results in 9 out of the 10 fundamentals, like significant results. His son never used to speak to him. He only earned a certain amount of money each month. He had communication issues with his wife. He had unforgiveness against people that had wronged him. He had so many different things that appeared throughout the GPS, and he went all in, and it was ridiculous. The results that he was getting, the enlightenment. All of a sudden his son started speaking to him. As soon as he released forgiveness, people were like, "You look younger." Like, he went on to make the most money he'd ever made, like in the 3 months we worked together. At the time, it was just unbelievable, just the upturn and shift. I can't say that every client of mine has that such radical experience, because they don't. For others, it is very much, it may be just an unlocking. There was one client recently, and the one thing that she really took away is the fact that she never understood her own motivation, and she'd lost her parents in a car crash. And she was very devastated, but she has such a heart for service and to volunteer, and give so much of herself. And it became very apparent, and I said to her, where does this like motivation come from? And she's like, I don't know. And I was able to reflect back, to her about the impact that her mum had, and how significant her mum's life had been. And she'd never connected the dots. It was a beautiful moment where she shed some tears, and really had that personal moment of reflection, and realized that her heart for service really kind of shone brightly from her own mum's ability to serve. She was a nurse and kind of gave a lot of her life to others. And her daughter was now reflecting this back, and it was a beautiful moment for her, and it was an amazing moment for me. So sometimes it's subtle, and there may be one thing, and for others it's it's many things.
Yeah, but even like what you're sharing is like those moments where you are reflecting and having tears, run through your face just from that reflection and awareness that you gain through that conversation, or through being in that space with you, with a coach. That's so powerful. That's not even minimal. That can almost like change your reality from one moment to the next. So that's really powerful. Beautiful.
I think it helps as well, Maria, when you're intuitive, and when you have an ability to see. And I think when somebody feels seen, there's a couple of things going on. One is the fact that the person is looking to connect and see. And the other part is that person is want to be seen, because you can only see somebody to the depth and level that they are allowing you to see them. So for me, I love human behavior. I'm fascinated, and I care. I care about people. I love people, and there's some people that I don't like, but majority I do. But I enjoy kind of coming alongside someone. I enjoy kind of liberating, and I enjoy kind of seeing something in people that they don't see in themselves. And that really kind of started when I was probably 13, when I didn't have any confidence as a kid. My parents divorced when I was 8. I come for 8 a lot. So I was a bit on the chubby side. So I got bullied a lot at school for my weight. So I was a boy that had very little confidence. And I always loved football. But the people that played football in my school team, they weren't the nicest of people. Some of them would be mean. So the thought of training with them after school was the last thing I wanted to do. A new teacher came to our school called Mr. Aldridge. He was 6'6". He brought basketball to our school. I'd never played it before. It was after school on a Friday. I thought I'd give it a go. I did. Really enjoyed it. The weight started falling off me, and I started to gain a bit of confidence. My friends were also training after school, so it was a good group of guys.
Mm.
And it's very intense basketball. So I noticed that I was getting fitter. I was feeling better in my body. And actually, girls started to show an interest, which I thought was hilarious because I'd never had that up until that age.
Mm.
And Mr. Aldridge pulled me aside about 2 months after we'd been training. And he said, Mark, I'm thinking that I'm going to register us in the school leagues to play. So we seem to have quite a few reasonable players and quite a bit of interest. And he said, I've been watching you train. He said, you've been dedicated. I've seen like how much weight you've been losing and how dedicated and committed you are. But most importantly, I've seen how many of your teammates respect you and really listen to what you're saying. And he said, I'm going to make you the basketball captain. And for the first time in my life, I felt seen.
Wow. Mm.
And
Mm.
that's a big part of why I enjoy seeing other people.
Mm.
And because he saw a leader in me, whereas nobody had at that point. In fact, teachers used to say to my dad, I wish Mark was more like his more academic sister, which used to hurt,
Mm.
and sting, and we've been compared to when we don't measure up.
Yeah.
And that part of him identifying something in me is why I'm now being Mr. Aldridge to other people. So when
Mm.
I see something in you, I will call it out, I will water it, and I'll bring it to the fore because that's what happened to me.
Mm.
And that's where I feel like that's a gift and also the beauty of life. So when something happens to you that rescues you, heals you, helps you, gives you an identity, it's not just about you, it's also about the people that you can help after that, which
Mm.
I think is the same for you, Maria. I think art and creativity saved you, and because of it, you now save other people, and that's the
Yeah.
beauty of it.
Yeah. No, that's so true. And thank you so much for sharing your story. I could really feel the emotion and how powerful that was for you, and just how meaningful it is for somebody to see you, to actually see you for who you are, um, and mention that and share that with you, and how powerful that can be. It's just, yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I remember now when you said there are similarities and in my story or something that you mentioned. Now I could see as well, like a part that I definitely resonate with. And it's beautiful that you've really that you are using that to nurture others. I think that's beautiful, and that's also really really shows a lot about who you are as a person, like a sharing nature, caring nature, because it doesn't always mean that people will handle it that way. So I think that's really amazing too, and you're sharing so much light with the world. So thank you for that. And I want to mention or just like ask a little bit about Mark of a Man, one of the books that you've written. And when I read here the part of, in a world where men are told to be strong, suppress their feelings, and hold it together, Mark Sephton knows that the true mark of a man is an ability to understand his needs, emotions, responsibilities, and duty, not only to those around him, but also himself. Really, really touched me. Also, especially because recently we lost a friend, a very close friend, and a lot of those things that he was going through, I think, and we don't know exactly how he left, but he's passed, and like he wasn't sharing a lot, and I can see that the suppression of feelings, and and the part about also what men in particular are going through with this need to be strong and cut yourself off emotions and all of that. So I just want to say it really, really touched me, and I'd love to hear a little bit more about that inspiration for you to write this book, and and what it means to you and what you're sharing with it, really.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason I wrote it, there's a number of reasons. One is because I find writing cathartic. I find writing healing. I also think that when you go through something, it will teach, it will heal, it will resonate, it will capture, it will prevent another person from making a choice or a mistake that they could make if they hadn't have read your experience or had hope from what you shared. And I think for me, writing Mark of a Man, I do talk a lot through the lens of my own divorce, because of the fact that there's not a lot out there for men in terms of support around that. I find that with women, you have lots of groups, lots of magazines, lots of literature. But for men, even magazine wise, there's Men's Health, but what else is there? Where men have got a resource or a group or an understanding, and rightly or wrongly, often I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I can only speak through the perspective of being a man. I don't have the ability to know and feel as a woman does. But often I find that men are the ones that get blamed for things like divorce. My big belief is that it takes two people to make a relationship, and two people to make a divorce. So there's never one person to blame. It doesn't always need blame. Sometimes things just reach the end of the road, and sometimes you just have to accept that. But I wanted to articulate my thoughts around emotions. And I thought the best way for me to do that is through sharing my own journey and vulnerability through my divorce, so that men would understand when I talk about feeling the emotions and how do we process them when we're in a society that has a certain ideal of what a man should be, and me really wanting to challenge and also liberate men by being vulnerable and showing men a different way to lead themselves. Because for me, leadership always starts with self. And that's why, I've been teaching self-leadership, because for me, I'm constantly leading myself through my choices, through the way I process, through the mistakes, through me needing to apologize, and me needing to own when I may get it wrong. And so for me, Mark of a Man really wanted to capture and reach men and show them through my own personal experience of how I humbly had to work through, difficulty, in the fact that even though I decided that my marriage was over and I left the family home, I still cried every night for 6 months, because it was never what I envisaged for my life. It wasn't something that, I wanted to put myself through, or my children. It wasn't something that was my intention, but also felt like I needed to make that choice for the greater good of self. And sometimes you have to be selfish in order to actually then be in a place where you can start giving to other people again. So, Mark of a Man really wanted to be quite raw and real, but also what do we do? And how do we need to be as men? And I challenge men on the way we behave and the way we see women, and actually the importance. And I talk a lot about the masculine and the feminine energy of how if a man is really in his masculine, he actually creates a psychological safety for a woman to flourish in her feminine energy. And when she does that, then the man feels even more masculine. And it's a beautiful cycle of where you're creating an environment where a man and woman really create a symphony, which is fundamentally what a relationship is. It is creating a symphony. It's a tapestry. It's a flow between two people, and it's not always easy because we're two expressions and we're wired differently. But I think it's important to have those conversations of what that really looks like. And so, there's so much in a Mark of a Man, challenging a man through his responsibilities, his expectations, but also the need to be vulnerable and to know why you feel what you do. We have over 3,000 emotions, and I think I felt all of them at some point. I'm not afraid. I mean, emotions at the end of the day, Maria, they're feedback. They're neither right or wrong. Some people are afraid of them. I'm not afraid of emotions. Like, they're God-given. They're there as feedback. They help us navigate. They help us choose. They make us make decisions. They're a good thing, like, for me, in terms of the fact that they are speaking something, they're sharing something I need to be mindful of that help you, like, navigate.
Yeah.
And we need to honor the feelings. Sometimes it is normal to be depressed. If you've lost a loved one or you've lost something that you love, then you should be depressed. And I think we're too quick to kind of take a pill, to run to the doctor, to think that we're not normal, to think that there's something sinister going on. I mean, things like mental health, it really depends on the backstory. Of course, if there's no context and you just feel down all the time and there isn't any context, then yeah, maybe you need some help, and that's absolutely fine. My mum's bipolar. She has a chemical imbalance in her body, so she needs medicine to kind of bring her into that balance. Absolutely fine. But I think, for me, we're too quick to suppress. I can't feel, sad. I can't cry because, I need to be strong for my kids. It's interesting because for me, with my children, they see me, and I can't hide anyway, but they've seen me sad. They've seen me happy. Some people will say it's right. Some people will say it's wrong. Even my ex-wife probably has a different opinion to me. But for me, the beautiful thing is that I've taught my kids how to be in an emotion and how to cry when it hurts. And it's okay to cry. And it's okay to be happy. And it's okay to own that. And so, thankfully, I've got 3 amazing kids that, for me, are really emotionally intelligent, and more emotionally intelligent than a lot of people that I know that are in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s, because they've seen me just owning and expressing how I feel in any moment.
Yes. Well, it's such an important message, and beautiful thing that you've used your creativity cathartically to express yourself, to process, but also to share with men your own process. And by speaking up, you are helping them to see things about themselves, and to help them in that area, because it's really, really important. So I love that. I guess like one thing, what would be like one thing that you would want to share with men, if you think of them listening right now, that's that you feel is important to share? What's your message? I mean, we've just talked about it, of course, but like in a message of passion that you'd love to share in one sentence with the audience about this.
Yeah, I mean, when you're trying to put like something into a sentence, it's not always it's not always easy, because there's so much in there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to reflect on what I really feel has been like the biggest breakthrough or biggest thing for me, in terms of what's had the greatest impact and move me forward.
Yeah.
I think for me, one of the biggest things is actually being brave.
Mm-hmm.
I think whether you're a man or woman, it doesn't matter. But I think being brave for me is the key here. I think, when I think of bravery, I think about doing it afraid, doing it without much belief. Sometimes just showing up, and showing up for yourself, because before we belong to anybody else, we belong to self. And I think that is quite powerful, in the sense of you can't escape yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You are with yourself 24/7. You don't get a day off. You are in your company every minute of every day.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know how to take care of self. You have to know how to show up for self. You have to know how you belong to self. You have to be brave for you. You have to be brave in your decisions. You have to be brave in the risks that you take. You have to be brave. Like, for me, that would be my message.
Mm-hmm.
Is you got to start showing up for you. You got to start taking care of you. You do not escape yourself. You got to nurture yourself. You got to take care of yourself in order for you to be of greater contribution. Because the only person who's going to be there is you. Like, and I'm very much not about being an island. Like, I push back when I hear women say, "No, I don't need a man." I don't like it. And I know that some men have been awful to women. And I understand why some women get to that point where they've had bad experience. Or it always seems like men are the reason why they're hurting or why they're sad. And I get it, because sadly, there's some horrific men out there. But when I hear it, something jars me, because we're not an island. Like this Maria, me hugging myself. Yeah, I can do that, but I don't feel half as good as somebody else embracing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can give myself as much self-love and self-care as I want. But I tell you what, there's nothing greater than when another human being loves you for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it is. I mean, love is the most powerful gift on the planet.
Yeah.
And if there was more of it, the world would be a better place.
Mm-hmm.
But it only starts by your ability to love self. And some people really, like, we talk a lot about self-harm, right? There's people that self-harm, they cut themselves, but people are cutting themselves emotionally daily,
Mm-hmm.
like abusing themselves, what they say. And it's often because they believe something that somebody else said. You're ugly, you're not enough, you're fat, you're stupid, you're not good enough, you're always a disappointment, nothing good will come. And, we start to believe that, and we harm ourselves constantly, right? And once you start changing that narrative, that is when you start to find fulfillment. And they're the moments where you've got to be brave and start challenging some of the BS that you've been leaving for all these years, being a captive to other people's garbage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're saying it so well. You find those right words for this. It's yeah, beautiful message. Thank you so much for that.
Wasn't a sentence though, so I
No,
failed.
no, no. I think maybe I should rephrase
It
like
was like a
how I asked the
book. She
question.
just gave you another book.
No, but yeah, that's it can, yeah, it was beautiful. Just how much passion also you put into this. So thank you so much for sharing that as a final word. But before we go, I also want to know, how can people work with you, find you? What was your next projects, and anything you want to share as well to everyone, so they, you know, get the best of you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very open in terms of communication. I'm on all the usual suspects when it comes to social media. I would say I'm probably most active on Instagram, where I like to share like a thought of the day. Most of the time I post a video. Today, actually, my video on Instagram was about at the start of the year. I set myself a goal of running 105-kilometer runs in 2023.
Yes.
And I kind of thought that that's literally 2 a week. Like there's 52 weeks in the year. So 2 a week for 50 weeks is 100. Give myself a couple of weeks in case I get injured or I'm not feeling it or I'm not well, you know, but typically, you know, the importance of having a goal and doing something every day, and action and behavior is the way to achieve a result. And if you want to achieve anything and are not doing something every day towards that, then it's just a wish. So for me, I love to share like thoughts to get people thinking, but also I don't just want me to share a nice story, a theory. I want to give like practical.
Yeah.
And you'll find that on my social. My website's marksefton.com. It's got there all my articles, my podcasts for Brainz, people's ability to work with me in terms of the self-leadership mentoring, which we'll do over 6-week period, which I love. Yeah, so I'm very much open to anybody like interacting and reaching out.
Amazing. Yeah, I can only encourage everyone that feels touched by you today and by this conversation to reach out and or to check you out on Instagram and everything. So there's so much everywhere, which is so great that we get so much of you, so much of your thoughts, and that you're sharing that so much. So thank you so much as well for being here today. I really, really enjoyed this, and there's so much value.
Yeah, and I want to encourage you too, because for me, people express vulnerability and passion when a space is created for them to do so. So your ability to create a space for somebody like me to be able to be vulnerable and to share my passion and my emotion, there has to be a lot of kudos to you as a host, because I think that you create this space where you have this such a warm, genuine energy and spirit. And in order for us to really dialogue and connect and actually create something, it is your ability to create a platform, I guess similar to a canvas. You gave me a nice blank canvas with loads of beautiful colors, and enabled and encouraged me to be able to express myself through that. So for me, it's really a testament to you as much as anything.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Well, really appreciate and um yeah, thankful for you to share that with me as well. So I really appreciate it. And I'm happy for that.
One love.
One love. All right.